16th station, nostalgia, returning to the source of our happiness. Hen questioned about the secret of his building's originality, and Tony Goad. W said, originality consists of returning to the origin, and a Valencian. Singer-songwriter completed this idea saying, whoever loses their roots loses their identity. So, a look at who we were, and even at who our ancestors were, may help us to understand who we are, and better still, who we might be. A basic emotion. Inside Out, one of Pixar's strokes of genius, explains the basic emotions we are born with in a tender and amusing fashion. It also describes how they can give rise to more complex feelings when they join together or mix, and are applied to the tough situations we face as we grow up. Without a shadow of a doubt, sadness is among the most basic emotions. However, it has certain variants which we should know how to recognize, such as melancholy or nostalgia, which may become good, creative allies. Although it may seem to us that feeling sad is a negative thing, scientists have shown that nostalgia can be beneficial for our health and for the achievement of our objectives, since it makes us recall positive memories and feelings. Feeling connected to others. Nostalgic memories are customarily of a social nature, and reviewing these memories increases our perception of being connected to others. In this way, nostalgia is a potent compensatory strategy. When people feel alone or excluded, nostalgia helps to restore the sense of connection. Clay Routledge. As recent research at the University of Southampton shows, nostalgia may even strengthen optimism. In critical moments, the memory of happy, safe moments, as well as of loved ones, helps us to remember that we are capable of reaching our goals and that we deserve to be loved and valued by others. So, nostalgia is not only useful for affectionately calling to mind the past, but also helps us to face up to our future, decide what our objectives are, what we want, and what we do not want out of life. A portable happiness, reserve human beings are so well designed that not only do we come with energy reserves in the shape of fat we can burn, we also have built-in happiness reserves in the shape of pleasant memories that can sustain us when we are feeling downhearted. The next time you feel sad, powerless, or too affected by what is wrong with the world, retrieve one of your life's happy moments. Search for the smell of cinnamon or vanilla that takes you back to your childhood, if that does it for you. Feel yourself in your parents' loving arms again. Straight away, you will see how you feel better, stronger, and willing to be useful to the people around you and kind to them. This is because you will be longing to create new memories that you can call to mind later on with the sweet nostalgia that inspires us to be better people. Personal archaeology. Examine your old photographs, travel souvenirs, personal diaries, or simply carry out the exercise of closing your eyes and looking back. Which would be your life's greatest hits? At what times have you felt especially happy and fulfilled? 1, 2, 4, 5. After unearthing and polishing these happy memories, as an archaeologist would do with the pieces they had retrieved, think which project could produce these feelings in you now. Next, throw yourself into that adventure. Do it for the sake of your future memories. 17th station, friendship. Reboot your friend map. His impressive account into thin air about a disaster experienced on Everest. I with a group of ill-prepared mountaineers. John Krakauer reflects on the importance of choosing your rope mates well to avoid ending up being dragged down into the abyss. This is something we should also be mindful of in our everyday life, which comes with its own hills and cliffs. To develop our Ikigai and reach our life aims, it is important to surround ourselves with a circle of trust that can help us to reach our summits and may give us a helping hand at times of peril. Emotional infection. We all know people whose energy is contagious after spending a brief moment in their company, and who we feel good to be around, without knowing exactly why. But there are also people who, much to our regret, make us feel depressed, sad, and sapped of energy when we socialize with them. These things happen to us because when it comes to our relationships, whenever we are with somebody, their emotions are catching. Ferran Ramon Cortés. Rope buddies. In order to carry out an audition to form the perfect team, we can start by ruling people out. If we want to fulfill our Ikigai, these people would be bad rope buddies. Those who are constantly complaining and criticize others, since we will doubtless also be the target of their criticism, thereby infecting us with their negativity. Those who take up too much of our time asking for favors or demanding attention. Those who tend to let us down when we most need them. These types of people are easy to recognize because we feel tired, irritated, or dispirited after being with them. In other words, we feel worse than before. The best thing about learning to detect them and progressively push them out of our life is that we free up time that we can then share with a smaller group of friends that nourish us more. Tell me who you spend the most time with, and I'll tell you where you are. A few decades ago, the American entrepreneur Jim Rohn became famous with a talk based on this idea. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. What he meant with that was our rope buddies can gauge our happiness or efficiency level in any area. In his latest book, Lex Rovira mentions this method, which we feel is very helpful for forming a good team to accompany us on our Ikigai. Just as the success of an expedition depends on the group's overall virtues and talents, so is our everyday life influenced by the people we spend the most time with. That is why, according to Jim Rohn, if, for example, we rate the happiness level of the 5 people we spend the most time with from 1 to 10, their average score will be our very own happiness level. Imagine your rope of friends amounts to 98823 in happiness. The average is 6, which means you live moderately happily. If you wish to increase your mark, stop making a habit of seeing those who scored 2 and 3 and replace them with people with greater vitality. By doing this, you will immediately increase your everyday happiness average. Ferran Ramon Cortés, the communication expert and author of reference books such as La Isla de los 5 Faros, The Island of the 5 Lighthouses, explains that our state of mind depends on the emotions we exchange with others throughout the day. In his words, becoming aware of emotional infection may cause an about-face in our relationships and our life. We all prefer to socialize with people who charge our batteries, rather than with people who sap our energy. Consciously choosing what we want to pass on will help us maintain better relationships and will provide us with better traveling companions. The following exercise may help us establish the right priorities in this key area of our life. How to make a friend map. The first step to understanding our friendships and bringing order to them would be to define the type of relationship we establish with each person, and what this relationship demands of us and does for us. To better visualize this task, we may fill out these 2 categories. 1. Friendships that always or nearly always provide me with optimism and good energy, that make me feel cared about, that inspire trust in me. People who always or nearly always talk about themselves, who often ask for favors, or whose take on life is nearly always negative, or people I see out of a feeling of obligation, but who I don't feel particularly glad to hang out with. Once you have separated your social circle into 2 blocks, now comes the fundamental question. Which group does each of the 5 people I spend the most time with belong to? Next, apply Jim Rohn's exercise to your personal happiness or to the area of your life you want to strengthen. If there is a fail that brings your GPA down, think about distancing yourself from that person in your circle in order to improve your mark and seek out an expert in that field. 18th station. Hindsight. Connect the dots. In Steve Jobs' famous talk to Stanford freshmen, the Apple CEO said, "I can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing the dots will connect in the future will give you the self-confidence to follow your heart, even when it seems things are not going well. And that is what will make all the difference in your life. The future is a train, and sometimes we do not know where it is taking us. All human beings, without exception, feel doubt and fear when commencing any new life journey, because we do not know if what we are doing today will be of any use or not. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Soren Kierkegaard. Steve Jobs felt lost during his student days, and never dreamed that enrolling in calligraphy classes would one day help him to create the best font rendering of any operating system in the market. His message is that we should not be afraid to follow our instinct as long as we allow ourselves to be guided by our Ikigai, the thing that we feel passionate about at each moment of our life. Even if uncertainty makes us feel dizzy or even causes us to panic, we should trust that everything will make sense in the future. Of course, not everything in life is necessarily useful. Oftentimes, we go down dead ends or get it wrong and fail. Even so, when these experiences are seen in perspective, they all become life lessons that will help us to grow as people. For that matter, having to take a detour to achieve what we want often enables us to admire the most beautiful parts along the way. Many discoveries that we make in places we never expected to be, like Columbus when he came across the Americas, are a much greater prize than the initial objective. Join the dots from your past. To understand the path you have taken so far and the one you are preparing for the future, start by asking yourself the following questions. What has the most important event in your life been in the last 5 years? 2. What happened before that? Which people, which actions on your part, and which other dots led to this one of your life events materializing? 3. What happened next? By connecting the answers to the preceding questions, write the story of your last 5 years, basing it on how the fundamental dots that made your life possible as it is today are joined. Next, examine how you are creating new dots for your future. What are you devoting most of your time and effort to right now? Do you know what fruit that will bear in the future? Is there something you have been wanting to do for some time but don't do because you are afraid of failing or of it being of no use to you? Try to do the latter for a reasonable amount of time, and don't worry if you don't see immediate results. In the end, the dots will join, and everything will make sense. 19th station, analog. How to go on a digital diet. Since the economic miracle, Japan has been known for its advanced technology, as demonstrated by the country that managed to make the first bullet train. However, its inhabitants are also enthusiasts of all things done well and like to take the time each thing calls for. This leads them to seek out activities that allow them to disconnect from the system and slow down the passage of time. Getting back to film rolls, cameras that work with rolls of film are still used here. As well as people armed with cell phones and digital cameras, if we take a stroll through Shinjuku-gyoen National Garden, we can also see those who seek the thrill that comes from analog shooting and the beauty of the resultant wait for processing. Many great Japanese photographers still take photos with cameras from back in the day, and those who have gone over to digital, such as the legendary Daido Moriyama, turn off the screen preview. Emulating the experience of shooting with a film-based camera, Spending a day as a tourist and taking 300 photos with the cell phone is not the same thing as taking a 36 exposure roll of film that forces you to be selective with where you look. If a photo doesn't look quite right on a cell phone, you take another 10 without thinking about it, with the resultant buildup of trash in your folder. With the film roll, you stop to appreciate the place before taking the photo, and you think about what you want to capture before springing into action, like a poet before they write a haiku. Analog photography and manual arts in general give you time to reflect and enjoy the process. You feel more relaxed and engaged, and this will show through in the photo you take. Anything that helps us to create mental space to free up our creative energies is good for our Ikigai. The example of the fathers of technology. Although technology has made our life much easier and has driven civilization's development, it has also subjected us to and made us dependent on devices, which we sometimes trust in more than in our own feelings. Many studies show that dependence on new technologies, especially among youngsters hooked on video games and social networks, may be the cause of numerous cases of depression, long periods of absenteeism from work, and even suicides. It no longer even surprises us that the first thing most people do when getting up, and the last thing they do before going to bed, is to look at their cell phone to check for messages. Few of us take steps to distance ourselves from this new drug, whose adverse effects have led to even the fathers of technology distancing themselves from their own creations. They themselves have recognized the need to get back to the life we enjoyed just a few years ago, by returning to the routine of communicating face-to-face with the rest of the world. Even Steve Jobs restricted the use of technology in his home, and his children had to wait a long time before being allowed to use the iPad. Chris Anderson, who was the editor of the magazine Wired and now runs a drone-making company, assured Nick Bilton of the New York Times that he preferred his children to get mad at him rather than let them spend too much time using the very gadgets that he promotes. My children accuse my wife and I of being fascists and worrying too much about technology, and assure us that none of their friends suffer from the same rules. However, the expert has his reasons for behaving this way, as he declared to the prestigious American newspaper, "We have seen the dangers of technology at first hand. I've seen it in myself, and I don't want to see the same thing happen to my children." The digital diet. Separating ourselves from technology is not easy because it has infiltrated all areas of our life, but detoxing is possible. So says another expert in this field, Google's marketing manager, Daniel Seberg. After developing an intense and award-winning career in television and internet, this communication guru has experienced for himself the pressure the media can exert on everyday life, not only in the professional sphere, but also in our private life. Despite us regularly questioning what we eat and drink, we rarely ask ourselves what this constant immersion in technology is doing to us. Think about it. Gadgets and webs don't come with nutrition labels. Nobody is regulating the amount of technology you consume or measuring how effective it is for you. For that reason, he wrote the book The Digital Diet, based on his personal and work experiences, in which he warns us of the dangers we are subjected to and gives us some pointers to slowly get rid of the excess of technology in our diet. According to this expert, beginning a healthy digital diet comes down to the following points. 1. Considering the effect technology is having on ourselves and on society. In order to do that, he encourages us to spend a day or two away from our devices and discover what is going on. 2. Studying the amount of technology we use on a daily basis. That is, analyzing how many devices we have, how often we use them, and how much we depend on them. 3. Reconnecting, little by little, with a controlled use of technology, which will be complemented by real, close relationships with the people we love. 4. Perfecting the new technological diet, prioritizing quality over quantity and enjoying a responsible use, which will improve our quality of life. The key, according to this expert, is not to spurn technology and get rid of all of our gizmos, but to engage with it, stop considering it a tyrant, and make it work for us. It's time to make peace with technology, not war. Don't hate your phone, your email, or your web services. Adapt them to your routine and tame them in a way that gives you the power. They are at your service. Daniel Seberg. As with any diet, this one is not suitable for the faint-hearted or the indecisive. But if we follow it and force ourselves to stick to it, we will realize how well it is possible to live in this modern world of ours. And one day we will suddenly find it hard to understand those people who carry on being slaves to a radiation-rich diet. Analog habits for relaxing the body and mind. The slowness of analog gives us time to reflect, relax, and enjoy the process. Using slow technologies from time to time helps our psyche to take a rest from the continuous state of alertness we are subjected to. Forever hurrying to answer the vibration in our pocket, heralding the latest electronic message. Here are some ideas to add healthful analog habits to your daily routine. 1. If you only read on electronic readers, buy yourself a printed novel by your favorite author. Do you take notes on a cell phone app? Stop using the phone for that and buy yourself a notepad that fits in your pocket and carry it with you everywhere. 3. Buy yourself an analog camera and use no other camera but this on your next trip. Before taking each photo, breathe in, appreciate and feel the moment, and capture this feeling in the photograph. Take the film to be processed and meet with the people who went on the trip with you to have a coffee and look at the printed photos together. 4. Do you work with text on your computer? Print it and check it using a pen. When you review the text on paper, you will come across mistakes you didn't see on the ever-hypnotic screen. New ideas will also occur to you, which didn't emerge while you were working in a rush, keeping an eye out as you were for a response to your last email. 5. Buy yourself a record player. Simply having to take the vinyl out of its sleeve and carefully place the needle on it will make you act deliberately and think about the artist you're going to listen to. Also, you can use having to change the record every 5 or 6 songs to take breaks as per the Pomodoro technique we saw in Chapter 12. 20th station. Slow life. You can get a long way walking slowly. Nooking ourselves from the technology enslaving us is not enough. Though, to get our natural human rhythm back. Leaving aside technology for a moment, the modern world is a fast, dizzying place that forces us to cling on tight every day so as not to lose our place. Hurrying is not only commonplace but seems to confer a certain prestige. The busiest person is seen as the most successful, when it should be the other way around. What use is success and money if you lack the time to savor a cup of tea? In the face of unjustified rushing about, at the end of the day, we are not being chased by a predator. We have the chance to stop the world and get hold of an easier, more peaceful and pleasurable life for ourselves. In other words, to enjoy the things we love, our guiding Ikigai, it is vital that we recover the simple life and take back control of our life's rhythm. I went to the forests because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach. I wanted to live intensely and discard everything that was not life, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. H.D. Thoreau, Walden or Life in the Woods. Slowness is also modern. It was as early as the 19th century that Henry David Thoreau fled from the civilization that was causing him stress and spent 2 years, 2 months and 2 days living in a cabin in the woods. However, the current slow life movement only began to get organized when many residents of Rome and several farmers, led by the sociologist and politician Carlo Petroni, demonstrated against the opening of a well-known fast food restaurant in the Piazza di Spagna. Although this and other fast food chains spread all the same, this was the moment the slow food body set out on its path to becoming a worldwide trend. At the end of the day, it is all about giving more importance to quality than to quantity in all aspects of life. Fewer clothes, but ones that last longer. Less meat, but of the naturally farmed kind. Fewer tasks and more leisure time. Fewer friends, but ones who care about us more. Making the most of our time for what really matters. Our century, which began and has developed under the insignia of industrial civilization, first invented the machine and then took it as its life model. We are enslaved by speed and have all succumbed to the same insidious virus, fast life, which disrupts our habits, pervades the privacy of our homes, and forces us to eat fast food. To be worthy of the name, Homo sapiens should rid himself of speed before it reduces him to a species in danger of extinction. Official manifesto of the slow food movement. In the end, it is a question of devoting time to ourselves, to our loved ones, and to what inspires us. Enjoying life is a skill we all possess, although we sometimes forget it. Slow life allows us to regain control and reconnect with the rhythm of nature. We just need to opt for a simpler, purer, more satisfying life that is more fun and enjoyable. Initiatives for joining the slow life to improve our quality of life exponentially. All we need to do is pay attention to the little things and introduce small changes to our rituals. Let's see some suggestions. Put your phone in airplane mode after a particular time of day. Check social networks as little as possible, in a fixed time frame if you can. Choose a single medium and a single time of day for watching or reading the news, and focus on the news items that help you live better. Favor sustainable and ecological products and clothes. Find the time to buy and cook fresh market products and enjoy your dinner table unhurriedly. Only spend as much time as absolutely necessary at the workplace, but when you are at work, work well. Favor physical encounters over virtual ones. Part 3. A Journey Through Our Present. Isaac. Bringing our past and future together in the eternal present of our lives. From the main Shintoist shrine. Final days of our journey take us to the coastal town of Ayaz. For the Japanese, this is Mecca, since the most important of all the Shintoist shrines is to be found here. We arrive by train and take a taxi to a ryokan located amidst the wilderness. The owner of the traditional lodging meets us at the door. He opens the trunk of the taxi and helps us carry our luggage. I'm Tanaka. He introduces himself, beaming from ear to ear. Pleased to meet you. I'm Hector and this is Francesc. Oh, you speak Japanese, he says to Hector. Well, I am still learning. You were lucky. You were in the best ryokan in the area, he says, pointing at the seemingly endless wooded horizon. The ISE shrine is located in this forest. It's so close you can walk there. The sun sets and the trees take on tones that remind us that fall is here. At dawn, we ope in the window and glimpse the ice shrine's wooden structures peeking out half-hidden among the trees, like living creatures living side by side and in harmony with the nature around them. The torii gate's wooden frames encompass what really matters: the trees, the river, the life around it, and the kami gods that inhabit the place. We leave the ryokan and plunge into the ISC shrine universe, which is dedicated to the sun goddess Amaterasu. We cross the wooden entrance bridge, and after going through 2 torii gates, head into the woods, where the trees are interwoven with the wooden structures dedicated to the gods. It's strange. The first time I was here, I saw a different shrine, but I get the feeling it's the same one. Hector remarks, looking at the shrine through one of the torii gates. You told me they rebuild it every 20 years. An intrigued Francesc says, that's right. The last time they rebuilt it was in 2013. What we're looking at now is the ND version. It's been taken down and put up again 62 times. In Europe, we'd be outraged if we demolished a cathedral only to rebuild it. It'd be a lot more expensive. The ISC shrine is very simple. They use wood from the surrounding forest and don't use any nails or metal parts to reinforce the structure. They follow the traditional construction method and instructions from thousands of years ago. They make the shimenawa ropes that mark sacred objects are grounds by twining rice straw. I think that's why it feels like I'm looking at the same thing, even though it's all different. The essence is the same. As Lampedusa said, if we want things to stay as they are, things will have to change. Francesc reflects out loud. This is a kind of eternal present. IZ has inspired us to write about the present. Meditation is one of the disciplines people most often turn to in order to do this. But the authors of this book believe that any activity that focuses our attention on the present enables us to find the flow we referred to in Ikigai. Any artistic activity is an excellent vehicle for bringing our spirit and mind into the present, where the greatest achievements are born and major changes are nurtured. Art always lives in the here and now because it is timeless. Are you ready to flow in a never-ending, happy, and creative present? 21